It's the Real Angler Show, live here on Rough Edge FM. And now, here's your host, Kevin Brennan. So this is Real Radio with Community Kevin. And Kevin, go ahead and introduce our guest today.
Today, make sure I pronounce it right. This is a good friend of mine right here. This is Mr. Chris. Is it Arechaederra? How do you pronounce your last name? I jack it up.
It's Arechaederra.
Oh, I got that way off. Arechaederra. Anyway, this is a very important person right here, Chris, man. And he's with CCA. You are the assistant director, correct?
I am.
That's right. And if you
spell out CCA, if you would.
So CCA, yep, for everybody listening. That's why I love Scotty here, because he's the voice of reason for people that are just listening. And this is why it's important, man, because some people they might see a logo or something and not understand what their messaging is. In CCA, I know I just throw it out there a lot, and people are like, what does that stand for? And it's for Coastal Conservation Association. Now, we're CCA California. I was actually a president of the Channel Islands and got that one going. Channel Islands and Santa Barbara were merged together before we split up with enough people to do both regions. But it's a national organization. And I'm going to let Chris do most of the talking and give you guys it, but you're going to hear me jump in on this podcast because this is one of the ones that is near and dear to my heart for fisheries management, especially in crazy California. And these guys work hard. It's him and Wayne. And I learned quite a bit about fundraising and fisheries management and politics that go on in fishing that people might not know about. And I'm going to let Chris kind of jump in for a few minutes here and give an introduction of what CCA is and what we do. I know it's protecting our rights as fishermen, but there's a lot that goes on legality-wise. So, Chris, again, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm glad we can help continue to spread the message, man. And thanks for all the work that you do.
Yeah, Kevin, Scotty, thanks for having me today. It's an honor. It's a pleasure. And yeah, it's good to see you, man. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah. Well, we talked for a minute at the Bard Hall, but that was you were so busy. I just gave you a hug and going.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, well, thanks, guys. I appreciate being on here. Coastal Conservation Association of California, so CCA California for short. What we do is we typically, as Kevin mentioned, fight for your right to fish here in California. So basically what we do is we have full-time lobbyists both in Sacramento and in DC representing you as saltwater anglers for our right to fish here in the Golden State. So ultimately, we're protecting our right to fish. We're also all about conservation, as it is in our name. We're trying to really do the right thing, always doing the right thing, and basically saving fishing for the future, the kids, our kids. I just had a son 8 months ago. I want him to fish just like I do. But if we don't protect what we have right now, we will lose it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, especially in a climate like California. So ultimately, that's what we do. That's first and foremost the advocacy. We have three main goals of what we do: advocacy, habitat, and hatchery. I just explained advocacy, but habitat, trying to bring back thriving habitat to California. In the form of artificial reefs, in the form of oyster reefing, in the form of eelgrass restoration, all good stuff. Because we believe in habitat. It creates more environment for not only the conservation side, all the different species and all that stuff. And it's super unique. It's super cool. So ultimately, CCA National, it's a national organization, which I'll touch on it here in a minute. They've made their name on habitat. Obviously, advocacy stuff comes first and foremost, but they've got reefs, artificial reefs going in almost on a monthly basis all throughout the country, whether it's in Texas, Louisiana, Florida, South Carolina, you name it, they're reefing out there, everywhere except California, unfortunately. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to lay the groundwork, they're trying to lay the foundation to ultimately get to where they are at right now here in California. There's a lot of red tape, understandably, but ultimately what we're trying to do is trying to bring that to California. And then lastly, hatchery, which I know in Channel Islands Harbor, there's a awesome operation of the grow out pens for the white sea bass. We basically go after the funding and go advocate for that program, the ORHEB program, and trying to make sure that that program is alive and well, and it's thriving right now. Regardless of whoever wants to believe that or not, the numbers are what they are, and we do believe it is making a difference in that species, in the white sea bass. I mean, every year you hear about so many different sea bass being caught all the different sea bass boats versus not and everything. But that species is thriving. Not the sole purpose of our program, but program's pretty much helping.
Yeah. We take the kids down. We do our Guppy Ranger program. That's one of the things that we do on our 5th adventure. We're going into our 3rd series right now. So Frank Sullivan has been opening up the pins for us on the 5th Saturday of our series. It's an 8-week series, and that's one of them, man. It's fisheries management. And what we also tell them is that, when that croaker bites up here, everybody's busy. Everybody from the landing to the fuel dock to the hotels and little restaurants that are right here, and how that particular species of fish really gets everybody off the dock. It's a great way. We have our bottom fish, our rockfish season, and then it goes right into croaker season. So we got these seasons that bite, and that's a great way for guys that have been tied to the dock for 3 months to get out on the bottom fish, and then also get those croaker that bite. So it's very important when those white sea bass come through here, and then the kids get a chance to see how they raised and grown, in the scientific research that goes about it. The second thing I wanted to add to that, I know when I first started with CCA, when I met, wasn't there a ship or something that they were gonna had already decked out that they were supposed to bring out and sink, and it was like right close to it and then got scratched, right?
Yeah, I'm blanking on the name of the ship, but what happened was it was under the Rigs to Reef program, and the department in the state of California basically shut that down just right before we were supposed to launch that and reef that. I know it was actually before my time at CCA, but ultimately, it was actually kind of funny. I see all the pictures every now and then where they actually painted the boat pink right before they're supposed to sing it. But ultimately, that reef, because of policy and because a lot of people or some people don't like the concept of something foreign going in the ocean, even though it's perfectly healthy and fine. Unfortunately, that went down to Mexico. Now they're using it as a reef. So that's kind of a missed opportunity for us, and we really didn't have anything to do with that other than the program just being shut down so abruptly. And now what they're trying to do is they've created a path to get back to the rigs to reef program. And right now, what we're trying to do is work with the CDFW and others on how to build that path forward, trying to figure out how do we get this program back up and running. They're coming up with protocols that we're trying to follow and trying to figure out, okay, how do we successfully go forward or move forward with their protocols, and we say we play the game. We want to play the game, and really we're tired of losing. And that's one big way in which we stop losing is playing their game, trying to figure out how to actually be productive in that space.
Well, I know that there's been other organizations that have tried to, be there for recreational anglers, man. And CCA is kind of so far withstand the test of time, because when you're going against these guys that play the game that
It says recording, so I'll keep going. Ultimately, what Kevin was.
Can you hear it?
There we go.
Are you back?
There you go.
We'll get that edited up. But is that, we've been able to stand there, and I know that gets creative, man, between you and Wayne and the board on how to, whether it's fundraising and the things that we do, but also getting the word out, traveling up and down California to be there on our behalf. And the reason I say it like this is because I've had a chance to go back east for like ICAST and see how big this is, relatively maybe newer to California, but I think they've been here at least about a decade, right? What year it started?
Almost.
Yeah.
So it started in 2015 here in California. So we're going on 9 years.
Yeah. And across, over there, like the Star Tournament that you guys are doing, we're going to talk about how big it is over there. You see it at ICAST. And I've been in luncheons, man, with NOAA and CCA and, the commerce. Again, we talk about how much money people make in fishing as far as like recreational fishing, right? How much from a hook to all those things that we talked about, and how important it is to have this big this organization that's, again, kind of newer to California, but you could see how important and vital it's been across the nation, man.
Yeah, and to your point, just to kind of give a little bit of a brief bio. So CCA National started in 1977 in Texas. So they've been around for almost 40 years. Yeah, I think almost 40 years.
50 years.
Yeah.
50 years. I'm sorry. I was an English major in college, so my math isn't any good. But yeah, almost 50 years they've been around. And so basically it kind of opened the door for California to have a state chapter of CCA back in 2015. There was a prior group beforehand that went under, so CCA kind of took the opportunity and really allowed us, and when I say us, really the industry in Southern California and also our board and all that, to really get organized. And not saying any other groups is not organized, but with CCA National, they have the true grandparent parent child relationship as CCA National is the grandparent, us at the state level being the parent, and then the grandchild is really the local chapters, which Kevin, you were part of the starting the Channel Islands chapter way back when. And it really provides the opportunity, the structure to stay organized, to really kind of use that CCA recipe to be successful here in California. And in 9 short years, we've been really, I mean, remarkably successful. Even with the political climate here, with so many people out there trying to, do this and do that and shut down this and go after that area or go after this species or whatnot. In 9 short years, we've been able to fend everything off and even go on the offensive as well. It's kind of like a couple of years ago. Yeah, it's been almost 2 years where the 365-day license went into effect. That was a bill that was sponsored by CCA, and we put that one forward and got something done. And granted, it took 9 long years for with other groups trying to introduce that piece of legislation and it failing 9 separate times. We ended up picking up on the first year, got it through thanks to that legwork, and we now have a 365-day license, which is good. A lot of our anglers, a lot of our members were asking for that every single year, and we put it through and got it done.
Yeah, man, I know that was the big one that we talked about when we start. Because me being, what I mean by getting the message across is, again, some people, you walk by you guys at the show and you say, help us protect our rights to fish. Or I've seen the guys at Bass Pro that I've been out there with, and getting out this message to let people know exactly more or less what they're doing. Because I'm sure at the shows, people are in a hurry to get to their favorite tackle, and get that kind of stuff. So when they see some agencies they might not know, and to get that message across on, again, there's so much that goes along with it. In myself learning that, seeing how many meetings that Wayne goes to throughout California. And the reason that we're just kind of getting this, we have a couple of things to talk about, but I really just wanted to lay out for people that are listening to really understand what it is, besides just seeing the red table there and what it's doing and how important it is, because things change. Like we could jump into this, like the rockfish regs that just passed. We're allowed to keep two vermilion, or what we call our red snappers up here,
Mm-hmm.
But the point of, like you say, going in there and making sure that when they try to make these laws or when they change them, that they got some sensibleness to them for recreational anglers, and that people might want to stop by and get more information from you guys, besides just getting their membership or even becoming a volunteer or a board member or coming to the different fundraisers that they had, that they understand that help them paint a picture of the bigger picture,
Yeah, and it's funny because we get sought out, very much out of those red tablecloths. They're bright red; you can't miss them. You're absolutely right, Kevin. I think there's so many different opportunities to get involved in. Everyone has their own strength, everyone has their own skill set, and there's literally a opportunity for anyone to get involved with CCA. Really, the main way or the main structure that we kind of go off of. I'd mentioned we already have full-time lobbyists in Sacramento and DC employed representing us as anglers, fighting for our right to fish. That's done. That's where all the fundraising comes in. Obviously, that takes an incredible amount of financial resources to really fund that. And we really need to be up there. But, to be brutally honest, if anyone's ever attended any government meeting, whether it's Fish and Game Commission, PFMC, which is Pacific Fisheries Management Council, Coastal Commission meetings, all that stuff, there's basically our counterpart, Wayne. He's the executive director for CCA California. There's one of him and about 20 or 30 other of those guys.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we need to grow. We really do. CCA Texas been around for almost 50 years, as Scotty mentioned. They have staff. They have probably, I think, 12 or 13 of me just in Texas alone. All trying to pull in the same direction, and they're super successful. We're not quite there yet in California, but we're getting there. But like I said before, it takes an incredible amount of resources. So, like I had mentioned, Wayne's up there. He's all around across the state, going to government meetings, representing CCA and anglers at this meeting and that meeting every single week. Right now, he's up at Seattle at PFMC because there's a whole bunch of meetings up there that basically determines all of the regulations that are coming down for later this year and even next year on all different species that we're not even talking about right now. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, we need more resources, we need more people, we need more staff, we need everyone. So that's kind of our role. As there's only 3 paid employees for California. That's Wayne, myself, and then our brand new assistant director, Tony Bangos, from San Diego. And we're the only 3 employees. Everyone else is volunteer. And that includes our state board, our local boards, and everyone else. So really, ultimately, like I said before, everyone has their role. We have our role as employees. The lobbyists have their roles up in Sacramento and DC, and then the volunteers as well. The state board has their own role to where they're basically setting up our goals for the whole industry, our goals as staff as well, on what we want to accomplish in a given year. Now, granted, you have years like the COVID year in 2020 and other years where there's this massive piece of legislation that gets introduced, and all of a sudden that becomes front and center, kind of like AB 3030 back in 2020, and 30 by 30 going on right now, to where that's front and center. We need to focus on that. And luckily, we are engaged with everyone. We're basically, we have a seat at the table. CCA does. And with CCA having a seat at the table, that means the entire industry has a seat at the table, which is great. We represent all of you guys, whether you're a member of ours or not. That's a whole different story, and we can certainly talk about fundraising and membership. But really, everyone, has a role in this, whether you think so or not.
Yeah, they do, man.
I was just curious. You mentioned about funding. Where does CCA get its funding? Where does it come from for the most part, and where does other revenue streams trickle in?
Yeah, great question. So our fundraising basically comes from all of you. If you've ever attended a banquet or a fundraiser or a charter or even the shows as well, anything we fundraise, every single dollar that we fundraise at any of those events stays in California. Now, the only piece that CCA National does take, which is their membership fee, which is $40 a year for the membership. And that's fair because, they provide a lot of services for us, like I said before, the lobbyists in DC and the accounting department and payroll and all that stuff. But ultimately, every single dollar that we fundraise here stays in California and goes directly towards fighting for a right to fish.
So we got a few fundraisers coming up. What's cool is I've learned a lot working with that one-man wrecking crew, Wayne, before Chris came in, and learning fundraising, understanding it, some of the nonprofit stuff that I've learned and regulations. I've learned a lot from Wayne, man. And that dude, before you got here, and now you got another guy, of showing me the ropes of what it looks like. You say utilizing all those resources, man, becoming a voice, making a name at the table. And I think that's why CCA is so near and dear, because my background working on sport boats, right? People know me as the guppy guy, and I do Real Anglers Fishing Show, but my heart's in recreational fishing, man, especially in the Channel Islands where we live at, huge fishery for Southern California. And the importance of when they start regulating and, took away our first couple of months in depths and how many hooks we could fish with and switching size limits and switching bag limits and stuff, and how that affects, recreational anglers and people that use that as the way to make their money, businesses. So this is something that I've seen. I got to see the inner workings of, but also learn, man, to see how do you, when you're trying to get it off the ground and get it going. And to be honest, I was a little nervous when Wayne first asked me to be the chapter president, and you get a chance to see all the names on that list. I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe it could help me out a bit, with some sponsorships because of the names that are on here. But if I goof this thing up, everybody in the fishing industry is going to know what I did. And man, our chapter up here, man, we were with Santa Barbara. We did fundraisers with them and getting creative. And I think we did a kayak fishing tournament up here. Yep. But to see the organization structure, to start one little engine that guy going at it, and look how big California is, being up and down the coast of California. Yeah, man, I could take, that's a lot of drive time. But to see him doing all that, man, was very inspirational for me, and also the part that we have in our sport fishing, man. So you could give that back to Wayne when that. But seeing some of the fundraisers coming up, and at the yacht club where we do our nonprofit, we're actually doing our fundraiser for Real Guppies at the same yacht club. And I watched Wayne put our team do it, and him helping us out from as we did it, and then learning how to do it myself, man. So I seen the inner workings. We actually utilize some of the same practices for our fundraising, and understanding that's a big part. So let's talk about some of the fundraising stuff that you got going on. We got the Star Tournament here first. We got the CI Poker night coming up, the golf tournament, charter on Mirage. I'm going to try to get on that charter. Maybe I could film that one. But yeah, go ahead, man. Anywhere you want to jump in, man.
Yeah. So let me start with the local events. We have our poker night coming up May 4th at Channel Islands Yacht Club. That one's going to be super fun. We've never really done a poker night before, but we hired a company to come in and we're going to go out all legit. We've got tables, we've got dealers and all that good stuff. But poker night, May 4th, it's $140 to get in, but you get not only the CCA membership, but you also get food and also I think $1,500. All
right, I'll be there. I'll be there.
Yeah. So will I. I'll see you there.
Sounds like with the membership and everything, that's a good deal.
Yeah. So that's going to be super fun. Our team led by Tyler Glover up there is really looking forward to that one. I kind of gave him the freedom saying, hey, what do you guys want to do? What kind of fundraiser do you want to pull off? And poker night was at the top of the list.
Wow.
And so to my surprise, a lot of people played poker in that group. So they're really kind of
just on the heads up. I'm like on the second reserve page. I put my name on that. That's how many people they got that I'm like, your regular reserve, standby, right? So you have their players, and then there's like a list of the first people they call, and then I'm like at the next tier.
Yeah, the fill-in. Yeah. Well, lucky for you, because I'm not even on that list. But yeah, that's going to be a super fun night, and my hat's off to Tyler and Frank and Tom and John and all those guys up there. They've really worked their butts off to try and put on a great event. It's not sold out yet, but we're expecting it to be pretty close. So you can get those tickets at ccacalifornia.org and just register right there. It's super simple, super quick, and it's painless.
Is there a Facebook link or anything that we could share on our end to help get that word out there? Is there anything that we could share? I got a couple flyers here. We actually have the flyer in our window too of our learning center, and I have some smaller ones we've been giving out. I'll be coming. We have our first West Coast big fishing show that same day, so I'm gonna leave the show a little early and get some guys out there, get some guys to cover the booth while I get over there. Because again, CCA, man, near and dear, try to get to all the fundraisers I can get to, man. That has to do with our local brand, our local chapters. So
hey, man,
there's a way too we could share that day at the event.
Absolutely.
Maybe we will show up if there's still tickets available. So we'll try to help spread that word more. Okay.
Yeah. And real quick, Kevin, my hat's off to you, man. You were the one who started that chapter. You gave so many years to us. I really appreciate that. And that really kind of stems from that entire Channel Islands chapter too. So that definitely much appreciated, brother.
That's our pleasure, man.
Yeah. So we've got poker night coming up on May 4th. Staying locally there, we've got Santa Barbara right up the hill. They're actually having a golf tournament September 6th at the Santa Barbara Country Club up there. And that's always fun. Who doesn't love to play golf? And even if you don't play golf or you feel, you suck, I know I suck. But it's always a good time. We always try and make it super interesting where we have sponsors on every hole. Drinks are flowing, all that good stuff. It's always a really, really fun day. So those are the two local events up there, as we have Channel Islands chapter and also the Santa Barbara chapter up there, right up the road from you. Yep. And then also, as you mentioned, Kevin, we've got a charter on the Mirage. It's an overnight leaving July 28th, fishing the 29th. That one is obviously going to be a limited load. I believe we're only taking about 18 people, and that one's almost half full already. And that's coming up here in July. So all the links to book any of these spots are ccacalifornia.org, and go up there to book your spot there. And then lastly, we've got the big event, the big one that we announced at the shows, the 2024 CCA California Star Tournament. And where that stems, that actually comes from Texas. That's a page out of their playbook. That tournament has been going on. I believe they're celebrating their 30th year this year, or 35th year, I think. And it's absolutely crazy. So really quick story. I was actually in Houston at CCA National in October last year. And that happened to be the day in which they were giving out all of their prizes. And when I say prizes, they're badass. Basically, they had, I kid you not, I think they had 7 or 8 center console boats in their parking lot that they were giving away, all outfitted with, I think, 150s and trailers. The kicker, though, they actually had to go to their local Ford dealership to go pick up their brand new truck to tow the boat with, because they got a truck with it as well. Just all for catching a tagged redfish out there. That's all you had to do. And we're not going to go quite as big this year in California, really only because we're actually not allowed to tag fish here in California for that reason, for a tournament reason. But what we're doing instead is we've created a format to where anybody could literally participate and anybody can win. So what I mean by that is we've picked out 5 different categories of species. So first being the saltwater bass. So that includes your sand bass, your spotted bay bass, and your calico bass. All those, plus the California halibut, the yellowtail, the white sea bass, and tuna. And that includes bluefin, yellowfin, big eye, and albacore. All you have to do, each of those categories has a qualifying length. So for example, the saltwater bass is 18 inches. We give you a measuring device to display on your fish on. 18-inch bass. You catch an 18-inch bass, you're in the running for our grand prize, which is an 18-foot center console Parker boat from West Coast Marine. That's our grand prize, and we have 9 other really great grand prizes, like a 3-day trip on the Intrepid down in San Diego, a week-long trip to La Paz with Tail Hunter Sport Fishing. We have a couple Alaska trips as well with Pacific Sport Fishing Alliance and Sitka Fish. Costa Sunglasses donated $1,000 prize pack as well. We have a trip down to Cedros, a week-long trip to Cedros with Casa de Cedros, a Newport motor, which I believe is our number 10 prize, and that's still worth at least $1,000. And that's an electric motor for your kayak or even small watercraft as well. So really big tournament. We had the boat on display at all of the shows that we were at just now, and it's really fun. And the best part about it is it's a $40 entry fee. That's it.
Yeah, I'm signing up. I actually have one of the rulers here, and we were kind of a little confused. I had to actually text Wayne because we seen the number on there. We're like, this halibut number is wrong. You know, it's 22 inches. Yeah. Marshall was looking up to see if maybe it was the Pacific halibut that was in there, and then he set us straight on what it is. And actually, I apologize. I got a couple of the posters game I need to take to our local landings right here. I'll get that out to support it, but I think I'm gonna have to sign up for this, man. I'm gonna be on the sport boats this year. And,
I'm surprised you're not even signed up, man. Come on.
And you know, I don't mean to be. I'm the busy guy, right? I'll get to that. You know, and seeing it and then moving on. You know, to be honest, and just dude, when I went to the Bart Hall show this year, man, this was the first year that I felt like I was part of the fishing industry. You know, I've been filming a long time and doing it, but shaking hands and walking to people's booths and not filming, like this was one of those years where I feel like I was like really a part of the industry, man, and just from a different perspective than just a regular fisherman, man, and what we bring to it. So I'm still unpacking all that, but sometimes I think, oh, well, if I'm part of that, do I need to sign up because I'm in the fishing industry? Should I be signing up for these things? You know, which when you start talking about, you know, boats and stuff, I should be, you know, but sometimes I look at it as I'm from the fishing industry, ambassador type of thing versus a participant kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
It's a much different outlook. Like once you go to those shows for that purpose, and it's your eyes get wide open because you start seeing many different things, many different aspects, and many different people as well, to where you're there to spread the word or you're there to sell something or whatnot. Versus a participant, you're just going there to have fun. Quite frankly, I missed that too. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, well, like, you know, I used to be, you know, some of the people are starstruck, like, oh, that's the guy from that magazine, or this is so-and-so, right? When I'm getting my name to those same people,
Kevin
like,
from Real Guppies.
Kev, get over here. Kev, come here. Like, how'd you know my name? You know what I mean? A lot of social, but this was the first year that I took, and we took Marshall along, and he got to see some of the celebrityism, but it was kind of cool to see that we've worked our way that direction, all the hours that we put in to be accepted like that. You know, you're not always looking for this, but I'm not gonna act like I didn't recognize it and acknowledge it, and it felt good. You know, I've been doing this a long time, and all the hours I just put my head down and grind for fishing and recreational and teaching new people that you know, to get a little notoriety of all the hard work and feel like you're kind of in the club now. It was this year was definitely that feeling, man. So that was kind of neat. So yes, I guess I still will sign up for the star tournament. You know, I won't be too big time, too celebrity. You know, like how'd that guy get in? Isn't he? You know, ringer.
Well, a couple things, quick tidbits. So the only people that are not allowed to participate are myself, Tony, and Wayne. That's it. Everyone else is fair game, and probably our tournament chair, Chris Wheaton.
Did Davey Brown sign up?
I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah.
All right.
But ultimately, guys, it's a great opportunity. You could win some really cool stuff. A couple other things, U.S. waters only. So that's a big deal. And then also you have to be a CCA member. So if you're not a member, it's $80. And, it's all good stuff. And you could fish from the shoreline. You could fish from a sport boat. You can fish from a private boat, wherever, pier, don't matter. As long as you catch that qualifying fish, you're entered to win. Now, there is a limit to where you can only catch 2, or you can only submit 2 entries per category per day. So what that means is you can only submit 2 bass on the same day you submit 2 halibut, the same day you submit 2 yellowtail, sea bass, and tuna. Ultimately, you can submit 10 entries per day, but that's the only limitation. So the more you fish, the more opportunity you have, the more entries you can put. And at the end of the tournament, which lasts from May 25th to September 2nd, at the end of the tournament, all it is a drawing. You're just getting in entries into the drawing for the boat and those 900 grand prizes. So a bass is just as good as a 300-pound bluefin, and vice versa.
That's cool.
That's very cool.
We kind of, you got some, Scotty, you want to jump in?
No, go ahead. You're doing good.
We kind of just, it's funny you say that because we just did our surf fishing tournament, right? Well, surf fishing, but we let it open to everybody. And the idea was so that everybody could fish, meaning, it wasn't just the normal species of like, surf fishing might be like your halibut, corbina, and perch, right? Those are your surf fish, game fish, You can't count a stingray or, a lizard fish or a jack smelt or something like that. But we wanted to do it so that way all the anglers could come out and fish, whether they're the old school guy with the 12-foot rod casting out a big old chunk of bait, waiting for a leopard shark or something, or catching something bigger, versus the guys that kind of go up and down the beach with more of the trout gear, fishing that lighter gear, for those particular surf fishing. And it was pretty neat, man, to have it, like you say, just letting everybody take part in this event versus, your skillful type of anglers, make it fun, kind of keep it fun, right? Because I think that's part of fundraising, man, and something we've seen, again, copying. Two things. Is there going to be the annual fundraiser for CCA for the Channel Islands chapter outside of the poker tournament? Because that's normally where I sign up. I usually sign up in my chapter versus at the events, because I like to sign up in my chapter. Will they be doing another event like their monthly fundraiser? And then again, seeing how we had music and the fun and the excitement of our fundraisers from other chapters. We've been to ones where they did like a crawfish boil, that when you do it, it's not like a rubber chicken type of fundraiser, that we always try to keep some. And that's something that I've taken away from CCA to put in our fundraiser. So those are questions. Again, will there be another one for their usual banquet? Last year they did up in Somas. I got to be the MC. That was cool. They called me back for that, and that was really nice. Nice barbecue. And then
so poker night's going to be our annual fundraiser. That's what we've turned it out to be. But it's really kind of up to the chapter. It's really up to them and the schedule and their bandwidth, to where, hey, nothing's preventing them from throwing another live in the 805 like we did years ago. Like, that was a super fun event. Not to say that you have to be a poker player to be part of poker night. Right. Ultimately, at the yacht club, as you very well know, it's always a party. Whether you're going to play poker or not, we'd love to have you. And it's always going to be a fun event, because not only do we have poker, we'll also have some raffles as well, a silent auction, and they've got that full bar in there that's just badass, looking out over the harbor and all that. So it's always a good time. So that's our annual fundraiser. Poker night is, but there's more to come on that. We'll probably end up going to do definitely that charter, like I mentioned before, but also maybe a seminar or two as well, and really just kind of put more fun into what we do, because
fundraising, putting fun back into fundraising.
Right. Exactly. It's no secret that what we do, the nature of our business and advocacy work, it's not for everyone. It is super dry. It is not sexy at all. And really, we don't expect everyone to be involved in that capacity. That's why we exist as employees. That's why Wayne exists. That's why our lobbyists exist. That's what we do. But in order for that to happen, we need to basically go out and throw that poker night and throw those fundraisers and really just provide a fun environment for you guys as the anglers to really do your part, because everyone could, throw down their money and have a good time, have some drinks and some good food and all that. And really, and like I said, anyone could do that. And that's a big way in which that helps our cause in doing what we do.
And to clarify that, man, this is something that as a chapter president and something that it's all recreational saltwater fishing, because you got the crazy kayak guys, right? That load it up and go out there and do like big game off the kayak. I never do that. I do a lot of pier fishing with the kids, right? I do sport boats, right? But you have private boaters, you have scuba divers that go out and spearfish. These are, no matter which part of the again, or those surf fishermen that we talked about that are elite, that fish up and down the coast. There's so many different types of recreational saltwater fishing. So it's not all based on charter boats or big game tuna. Recreational fishing with a rod and reel in your hand is all those things across the board, so don't think that you need to be, I fish over here and this is, I'm not one of those party boat guys, so it doesn't affect me. Yeah, it does. It's all recreational fishermen in California. So maybe that's a good way. I know I like to invite people to those events so that you can maybe meet another fly fishing. I did a video last year of these guys that fly fish rockfish, or they're saltwater fly fishermen, tie their own flies. It's a completely different way of fly fishing that you would think, or rock fishing, and they got a little community. So it's also a good place for people to find other folks that are fishing the way that they like to fish and meet some new fishing buddies, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you hit the nail right on the head, Kevin, where, recreational fishing, it encompasses so many different people. It covers so many different aspects of our industry and all that. And, we've always had the belief and the opinion in California, especially, we want everyone to fish, whether you're old, young, whatever, from any other different backgrounds. Even, we're not against anyone fishing. We want everyone to go fishing. In 2020, we had such an increase in our sport because of COVID. That was, what the one good thing about COVID was, it really increased so many different anglers. And I believe, man, I'm going to get this wrong, but I think there was an increase in 4 million fishing licenses in 2020.
Yeah. It went up like 800%.
Yeah.
That was the number at the fishing summit. It was like up like 800%. So
exactly. And, from what we could tell, fishing is cool. Fishing is cool. When we were growing up, Kevin, it wasn't so cool. It was like one of those, things that some people did, but you didn't really talk about it all that much and all that. But now I see so many groms at, on the docks fishing, and even on the piers or wherever, trying to get their fix and trying to fish the bays and the harbors and, the reefs and the jetties and all that good stuff. It's a good thing. It really is a good thing. And that's who we're actually fighting for. We're fighting for everybody that fishes, whether it's off of a reef, whether it's off of a private boat or sport boat, whoever. And, thankfully in the nature of our business, it allows us to build a lot of different coalitions with, that include some commercial guys, that includes the CPFEs, that includes SAC, the Sport Fishing Association of California, that represents all of the sport boats, the businesses, and landings as well. We have great partners in those guys to where, if, like, for example, 2020, that through that had AB 3030, which is the 30 by 30 movement, which they want to conserve all 30% of all land, water, and ocean. In theory, great thing for conservation and all that. But we read between the lines, and especially here in California, it was being used against us. So we were trying to, we were against that one. And all of the sport boats, all of the landings, all the different companies in the industry stepped up and really helped us defeat that bill. And that was a really great thing. Just last year, the year prior to that, they had the CARB issue with the sport boats. And ultimately, they were facing a critical deadline, in which they had to upgrade all their engines to a technology that didn't even exist yet for the marine side. And so, those kind of issues, we all work together and have our bits and pieces and have our roles in those kind of things that are constantly being shoved down our throat here in the state of California.
Yeah. I had this So I sit on the SAC board up here, but that's for the Sanctuaries Advisory Council.
Mhm.
So I got an interview because they want to do this. They're looking at this area for the Chumash sanctuary, you know.
Yep.
So the student called me from the university to kind of, you know, get my take on what I thought of it, you know. And I said, okay, this is more of a from Kevin, a recreational angler, you know, as far as like a SAC, like this isn't a SAC quote. This is from Kevin, the guy that's been out there, right? Because I'm still learning about some of the stuff. I've only been on the seat for like 8 months. But she started off saying, I loved fishing with my grandpa. I really did. And I said, could you imagine if you couldn't do that with your grandkids? And she like froze
Mhm.
on the phone. Like, you know, when the importance of regulating and preserving it versus conserving it, and, you know, fishermen following the rules and the laws to make sure we have fishing for a future. I told her, could you imagine a world where you couldn't take your grandkid fishing and those same memories you share with your grandfather, you can't share with your grandchildren?
Mhm.
She kind of like, I never thought about it that way, you know. So as we come in here to help save every tree and leaf and you know, to preserve everything, you got to think about it from real, like imagine that world where you couldn't do that. And I think she wasn't ready for that question, you know. She wanted to come in and get you know, what are you guys doing to the ocean, you know? And I asked her to keep me on board with this. But when I painted that picture, could you imagine you not being able to share that with your grandkids? What would that be like after you just so excited about how you did it with your grandpa, you know? So,
You know, there's something. I'm glad you brought that up, Kevin. There's something to where there's a difference between preservation and conservation. Preservation is basically, you know, what you want to do, or what, you know, people over here that want to do is shut down everything and lock up the key and throw it away and
yeah,
basically kick us all off. There's conservation, which as anglers, we're all conservationists naturally, and we want to be respectful for the resource, but also conserve it as well. We're not, you know, it's there is an argument to be said about how there's no way we want to kill this species or that species or this what we love to do, because we're not going to have it if we keep continue to kill and kill and kill. And a lot of people have painted the picture as fishermen as the enemy. And
right,
one thing, especially with this 30 by 30 deal going on, where it's interesting because now we've said a lot of the different things. And when I say we, it's CCA and others at the table with the CNRA and the OPC trying to do the 30 by 30 deal. You know, they've often you reused a lot of the same phrases that we've been using all along. So it's almost kind of like we're trying to get our point across. Now they're using that point to really kind of focus their narrative and all that stuff, which is good. They're using our same talking points, which is awesome.
yeah,
That's one thing I will say about CCA, and I'm not a student of it or anything like that, but I do subscribe to it. There's a newsletter and what have you, and I see the news, and I've always appreciated the balance. You know, a lot of people could accuse them, well, you don't care what you're doing as long as you're protecting the fishermen, but that's not the case. The case is it's a balance. It's like you said, it's conservation, and I think that's important to mention, because I know people that say, you know, well, they're going against things that other people think are hurting us. But you're not about that. You're about keeping the balance, keeping the protected species protected, keeping the sustainability of everything. And that's obvious from the things that I've seen about CCA.
Yeah, yeah. We're not out to basically, you know, just go out there and be detrimental to the ocean and basically trying to, you know, take anything and everything and leave nothing behind. No, we're not about that. And that's the national part of being anglers here in California, where we don't want to do that. But more often than not, we're being painted as that way.
yeah. We're not gonna let that happen, are we, Chris?
Nope. Nope.
Which is cool. I mean, because you know, me going, and I think that was a big. We're gonna wrap it up here pretty soon. When
Yeah.
I got a chance to go, are they gonna let you go to ICAST this year? They find it in the budget? Because you
After
want to,
after 6 years, I'm
yeah.
finally going to ICAST. Yep.
Because you want to talk about a booth that's pretty wild. Get to the CCA booth at Happy Hour out there, man, for 2
Oh,
days.
I've seen
Woo-wee.
plenty of pictures and video. I'm
Yeah,
I'm ready.
but
I'm ready. I'm getting my liver ready too.
yeah, yeah. So watch that for the coaster party. But we'll leave that there.
Yeah.
But anyway, to that is that I got a chance to come back and share that with our team in Channel Islands, you know, and let them know how big of a reach and hearing those, going to those meetings. I put a lot of time into this, man. So being to go to hear NOAA, and it was the Teddy Roosevelt luncheon, and somebody from CCA was up there for, I don't know from which place, but they were like fighting snapper in the Gulf, you know, and to break down those realistic truths about how much manufacturing money comes from conservational fishing. And what I mean by that, kind of sounded weird, is that, buying a hook, a fishing pole, monofilament line, going on a sport boat, buying a boat. There's a lot of commerce that comes with fishing that people have been relying on for years. Could you imagine if you've been fishing that long, right? Working on boats and doing what you do as a deckhand, and then you can't do that anymore, and you got to go find an entry-level position at a job because all you know how to do, or your craft has been for so long, has been in a certain type of an industry, and all of a sudden that's wiped away. So to hear them talk about it with those bigger terms versus just what we do in California was really meaningful for me to see and to share with our team, and why I advocate for this program so much, because there's different things in every state, but look at how they're able to hang in there, man. Going up against government agencies and having strategic plans and partnerships and outlines and all that good stuff. You don't accidentally stay in business for 40 years, but also the credibility of them wanting to listen to the voice of you and Wayne and others that are there speaking on behalf of all of us recreation anglers that can't make it to those meetings, or speak the language and all that other kind of stuff that we could just lose in those rooms that CCA does, again, from coast to coast, man. And you get a really chance to see it at a bigger scale at ICAST. So I'm glad you finally get to come besides just boozing.
Yep. I'll give you guys a crazy stat. Can you believe that if you combine the entire fishing industry together nationally, not state, but nationally, we are actually bigger than agriculture. We're bigger than the agricultural industry.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we, obviously what we do is our passion. What we do, what I do, what you do, Kevin and Scotty, is your passion. You love fishing just as much as I do. And, ultimately we put our heart and soul into the sport, into this industry. And, with the CCA brand now here in California, I mean, I'm super stoked to be a part of it. I've been a part of it for 6 years, and, it's wonderful to really kind of see this not only this brand grow out here, but also all the response from anglers here, at least Southern California, and even in Northern California. We're only here in the Southern California. Our farthest northern chapter is Morro Bay, which is not too far away from you guys. But we're continuing to grow. We will be growing in Northern California, I'd say probably hopefully in the next 12 months or so. We're going to be expanding our presence here, like I said, in 12 months, to where we're going to have not just 9 local chapters like we do now, but we'll get 12 or we'll get 15. We'll probably add a couple more staff people, just because out of the response that we've seen, not only at the shows, but all of our events and everything. And to be honest, we need it. We really do, because like I said earlier in the show, there's one Wayne going up against 20 other guys in every single meeting.
Hanging in there, man. Boy,
he's hanging in there. Yeah, he's holding their own, and luckily, we've taken a different approach over the years, to where, you always hear, 20 years ago, the MLPPA process and all that, everyone was fighting with everyone and everything. We've taken a different approach, to where we're not trying to fight with anyone. We don't want to. We do not want to fight with anyone. Commercial, environmentalists, you name it. We don't want to fight. We want to all work together, because there's a lot of common ground that we see naturally that we can always agree on. And then obviously that builds relationships, that builds trust, and ultimately fighting with anyone, especially in the government relations sector of our business, it's no good. You don't get anything accomplished. So with that strategy, with that approach, we've been successful in 9 years.
Yeah. How many, we'll wrap it up here. Just let everybody know that's listening, in case they want to, where are the chapters at, and they could get involved in it? What all cities are they in right now? So if they wanted to reach out and be more active, or again, volunteering, I know it's important, the volunteers, fundraisers that are coming up, the bodies are important too. The funds are really good, but having some hands to help too. So, or just getting more involved in it. Can you just list off, if you know them, all the different chapters, so people could look in their own backyard?
Absolutely. So you're absolutely right, Kevin. We definitely run on volunteer, a whole lot of them too. We've got 9 local chapters. So I'll start from north to south. Morro Bay, Kern County, which is Bakersfield, Santa Barbara, Channel Islands, North LA, South LA, Inland Empire, Orange County, and San Diego. So anywhere from San Diego to Morro Bay and everywhere in between, we've got local chapters. And really, it's really important for, if you don't want to, give, if you've got time, or if you're newly retired, or if you're not retired and have kids and still want to help out, we'll take anyone and everyone. So ultimately, the best way to get involved is go to ccacalifornia.org. You hit the contact us button, or my email is there, Wayne's email and Tony's email are all up there. Email us and send us a note and say, hey, I live in such and such place, I want to get involved. I'll direct you to that local chapter. Every chapter meets about once a month. And ultimately, the whole point of chapters is membership and fundraising. So really, it's just working on fundraisers and also working on trying to recruit membership as well. So ultimately, that's the best way to get involved. If you don't have any time but you want to donate, you go ccacalifornia.org/donate as well. We've got different programs where you can make a one-time donation, a monthly contribution for $20 a month, or you can even donate on behalf of your brand or your business as well, and get credit for that as well. So those are primarily the best ways to get involved with CCA California, and we're looking forward to seeing everyone at all of our events coming up.
Yeah, man. I'll see you there. All right.
And the next one's May 4th, right? The poker tournament?
Yep, they're Channel Islands, right in your guys' backyard. They're kicking us up this year. After that, we've got May 18th, the Apps and Taps Festival in San Diego, and then the Anthony Shea Conservation Dinner, which is the industry-wide event, June 27th in Long Beach as well.
I need that information, sir. I do need that information.
I'll send it to you.
All right, man. I think that'll do it. I know you got another meeting to get into coming up on the hour mark. Hey, thank you so much, Chris, for everything you guys do. Again, this is one of the ones that are near and dear to my heart. I think I got to be checking some more dough that way too, man. And anything that we can do for you guys up here, man. Again, we got our Guppy Ranger program. We had the Guppies come in and help at when we did the kayak tournament, you know, so whatever we can do to be a part of helping get the word out and the messaging, you know, reach out anytime. And thanks for being our guest today, man.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me. This was fun. Awesome.
Yes. Yes, sir. Thanks, man. Talk soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
This has been a Rough Edge Studios production.